What is IIJA? On November 15th, 2021, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Bipartisan infrastructure law is the longest or the largest long-term investment in our infrastructure and economy in our nation's history. It provides $550 billion over fiscal years 2022 through 2026 in new federal investment in infrastructure, including in roads, bridges, and mass transit, water infrastructure, resilience, and broadband. And y'all don't have to take notes or take photographs. I will gladly provide you a copy of this presentation so that you'll have your own copy and you have that information in front of you. Okay. The bill invests $350 billion in highway programs over 5 years. Bipartisan infrastructure law provides the basis for Federal Highway Administration programs and activities through September 30th, 2026. It makes a once-in-a-generation investment of $350 billion in highway programs. This includes the largest dedicated bridge investment since the construction of the interstate highway system. The one thing I want to point out as we get started, this bill's been around since November of 2021. We're 60% into the bill. So we're a little behind the curve as far as going after this discretionary grant money that's available. Creates more than a dozen new highway programs. New programs in the bipartisan infrastructure law focus on key infrastructure priorities, including rehabilitating bridges in critical need of repair, reducing carbon emissions, increasing system resilience, removing barriers to connecting communities, and improving mobility and access to economic opportunity. It creates more opportunities for local governments and other entities. Many of the new programs include eligibility for local governments, metropolitan planning organizations, MPOs, which you all are represented by the Fayette-Raleigh MPO, and other public authorities, allowing them to directly compete for funding. And it is a competition. These are discretionary grant funds. The Rural Surface Transportation Grant was enacted through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law in 2021. The Rural Surface Transportation Grant program provides $2 billion over 5 fiscal years to support projects that will improve and expand surface transportation infrastructure in rural areas. Beckley is considered nationwide as a rural area. With the goal of increasing connectivity, improving the safety and reliability of the movement of people and freight, generating regional economic growth and improved quality of life. Rural Surface Transportation Grant. This program supports projects that improve and expand surface transportation infrastructure in rural areas to increase connectivity, improve the safety and reliability of the movement of people and freight, generate regional economic growth, and improve quality of life. Rural Surface Transportation Grant Program funding will be made available under the MPDG Combined Notice of Funding Opportunity through a Notice of Funding Opportunities, or NOFO. Eligible applicants are a state, a regional transportation planning organization, your MPO, a unit of local government, your city or county, a tribal government or a consortium of tribal governments that does not apply to us, or a multi-jurisdictional group of entities listed above. The Rural Surface Transportation Grant, the eligible types of projects was a highway, bridge or tunnel project eligible under the National Highway Performance Program, a highway, bridge, or tunnel project eligible under the Surface Transportation Block Grant, a highway bridge or tunnel project eligible under the Tribal Transportation Program, a highway freight project eligible under the National Highway Freight Program, a highway safety improvement project, including a project to improve a high-risk rural road as defined by the National or by the Highway Safety Improvement Program. Project on a publicly owned highway or bridge that provides or increases access to an agricultural, commercial, energy, or intermodal facility that supports the economy of a rural area. A project to develop, establish, or maintain an integrated mobility management system, a transportation demand management system, or a demand mobility services. Another program is called Safe Streets for All, SS4A. The bipartisan infrastructure law establishes the Safe Streets and Roads for All discretionary program with $5 billion in appropriated funds over 5 years from 2022 through 2026. The SS4A program funds regional, local, and tribal initiatives through grants to prevent roadway deaths and serious injuries. Eligibility for this program, the following are eligible: political subdivisions of a state, which includes counties, cities, towns, transit agencies, and other special districts, metropolitan planning organizations, and federally recognized tribal governments. Grant types. The program supports the development of a comprehensive safety action plan, referred to as an action plan, that identifies the most significant roadway safety concerns in the community and the implementation of projects and strategies to address roadway safety issues. Action plans are the foundation of the SS4A grant program. Your MPO has a consulting firm under contract. I think they've been under contract probably about a year, working on the action plan. I don't know what the status of their action plan document is at this time. The SS4A requires an eligible action plan be in place before applying to implement projects and strategies. So you have to have this action plan developed, you have to have your projects identified, then you're able to go after the money to construct, the grants to construct the projects identified in your action plan. The SS4A program provides funding for two types of grants: planning, which is your action plan, and demonstration grants and implementation grants. The implementation grants, as I said, are the grants that actually constructs projects. You have the Reconnecting Communities Pilot Grant Program, another program that focuses on improving access to daily needs, such as jobs, education, healthcare, food, nature and recreation, and foster equitable development and restoration, and provide technical assistance to further these goals. This new competitive program will provide dedicated funding to state, local, and tribal governments and metropolitan planning organizations for planning, design, demolition, and reconstruction of street grids, parks, or other infrastructure. Grant types for the Reconnected Communities Pilot Grant Program. They solicit grant applications for this discretionary grant program established by the bipartisan infrastructure law. Has two grant types: capital construction and community planning. Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, RAISE grants. U.S. Department of Transportation, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. The program provides grants for surface transportation infrastructure projects with significant local or regional impact. The eligible requirements of RAISE allow project sponsors, including state and local governments, counties, tribal governments, transit agencies, and port authorities, to pursue multimodal and multi-jurisdictional projects that are more difficult to fund through other grant programs. This program is now open for applications. Unfortunately, you probably will not be able to have an engineering firm in place in time to be able to submit for this discretionary grant. Promoting resilient operations for a transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation program. PROTECT. The PROTECT program provides competitive grants to eligible entities to increase the resilience of our transportation system. This includes funding for evacuation routes, coastal resilience, making existing infrastructure more resilient, or efforts to move infrastructure to nearby locations not continuously impacted by extreme weather and natural disasters. Here in West Virginia, particularly southern West Virginia, we're prone to flooding. This is a discretionary grant program that we could apply for areas that this would be of benefit. The Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, BRIC. This program aims to categorically shift the federal focus away from reactive disaster spending and toward research-supported, proactive investment in community resilience. In other words, you know what the problem areas are, let's fix it before it floods again. And this grant establishes the funds to do that. Through BRIC, FEMA continues to invest in a variety of mitigation activities with an added focus on infrastructure projects benefiting disadvantaged communities, nature-based solutions, climate resilience, and adaptation and adopting hazard-resistant building codes. We'll talk a little bit about the City of Bluefield and the projects and the funding that we've been able to get the City of Bluefield. I've been working with the City of Bluefield for about 5 years. Here's the federal funding that we have obtained for Bluefield through the IIJA federal funding. They got a rural grant for an overpass and access road. They have an underpass of a railroad that was built well over 100 years ago. Every time they get a good rain, it floods, and it just shuts the traffic down. You can't get emergency vehicles through. People can't get through that tunnel. This grant will provide a bridge over, it's called the Midway Tunnel. It will eliminate that tunnel and also provide an access road down to an intermodal facility that the city is wanting to build adjacent to this overpass. $13.48 million. We received an action plan grant, Safe Streets for All action plan grant, $398,000. We were selected in September of last year, and for us to be able to apply for the implementation grant the following year, we had the action plan grant completed in 3 months. It was completed by the end of the year last year, starting in September, finished by the end of December. It allowed us to go after implementation grant for the SS4A discretionary program. They were awarded $25.5 million because we expedited the action plan grant and were able to get that in. And we wrote a successful grant application. It was one of the ones that was selected through this discretionary grant program. State is matching that with state road funds for a little over $6 million, so it's over a $31 million total projects that will transform the street system in the City of Bluefield. The RCP grant, that's the Reconnecting Community Program. It's a planning grant. We're on a team with AECOM. AECOM's an international engineering company, has about 25,000, maybe over 25,000 people. I work very closely with AECOM. They were selected. We're on their team. $1 million for the planning grant. West Virginia DOT is going to administer that grant, and they're currently going through the process of developing a scope of work and negotiating a fee proposal, and then we'll get notice to proceed and get underway with that grant, because there's another pot of money for implementation once you complete the planning work. They have a total of $40.386 million that we have been able to help them secure through the IIJA federal funding. I stated earlier, this is once in a lifetime. I wish there was more than one of me, then I could have went out to a number of cities in the state of West Virginia and made this presentation to other communities. Bluefield happened to be one of my clients early on, and I've been helping them since the implementation of this law. City of Bluefield federal funding, you can see the dark lines there is basically the streets that will be completely transformed with this Safe Streets for All implementation grant. They're going to replace several traffic signals with roundabouts, going to be able to service on the northern part of that, the upper part of the screen is Bluefield State University. There'll be a roundabout there to the entrance of Bluefield State University, and we will connect the athletic fields, recreation areas, and their dormitories, medical facilities on the south end of the map. Rural Surface Transportation Grant, there's a picture of the tunnel that's over 100 years old. Floods considerably. Every time we get a good downpour, it floods. Creates a lot of headaches for the city and local people that rely on this to get to and from where they live to the city and to services that they depend upon. From USDOT, they said the project benefits, the project is strong in safety, state of good repair, economic impacts, freight movement. There's several railroad tracks, Norfolk Southern tracks above this tunnel. Freight movement and job creation. As I stated earlier, this also is connected to an access road that will be part of this project to a new intermodal freight facility that Bluefield intends to construct. Job creation and equity with multimodal options and quality of life. Midway Tunnel is 128 years old. It's a 195-foot long underpass on Old Bramwell Road, Mercer County Route 11, that passes under 8 Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks and the associated rail yard. Replacing the underpass with an overpass will facilitate development of an intermodal facility as it can accommodate trucks, and also reconnects the disadvantaged Midway community located along Old Bramwell Road and the rest of Bluefield, which are separated by the railroad. A lot of emphasis when they're scoring your application is, are you helping disadvantaged communities or neighborhoods that are disadvantaged? Talk about the city of Beckley. The WVU Tech Campus Quarter, it's a complete streets project. I was president of West Virginia Tech's Alumni Association. And this photograph was taken, I was going on my way to a Tech Golden Bear Alumni Association meeting one morning, about this time of year, about 5 years ago. They had just moved from Montgomery a couple of years prior to that. And I look at the flags and I look at the school, they're really trying to make an impression here in the city. And I look in, as you can see, there's overhead power lines. The sidewalks, some places are in good shape, other places not so good. At this time, they didn't have the ADA compliance. I think they took care of that a couple of years back. They put the ADA compliance sidewalks in for people with mobility issues. But I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to transform South Kanawha Street into something that would fit more into a campus community. And that's what this is. It's a campus community. You got a lot of kids. In fact, I recall a newspaper article here, the Beckley paper. I think they quoted President Gee at the time of the move that we would have 5,000 students here in Beckley. Now we've fallen awful short of that. I believe I'm on the West Virginia Board of Governors also. And I believe Tech is under 1,000 students. So West Virginia Tech needs to do some pretty aggressive things to change their enrollment decline, to get the school back to where it needs to be, and that's growing enrollment. Working with the community, you've probably heard President Stewart talk about Communiversity. It's a good concept, and I've got a plan or a vision for that also that I'm working on, and I got a couple of other Board of Governor members here that live in the Beckley area that are working with me to help push my ideas and thoughts through. But anyway, that just got to me that morning that there's got to be a way that we can transform this street into a safer, more viable flow of traffic, the flow of people with mobility needs, make it fit a college community. So that's what we worked on with the West Virginia Tech Campus Corridor Complete Streets project. It's the cover sheet of our RAISE grant. West Virginia Tech was awarded earlier this year. You can see the date on this, February 28, 2024. We submitted to the US DOT. This is the cover sheet, WVU Tech Campus Corridor Safety Improvements. USD, or the West Virginia DOT, West Virginia Tech, and the City of Beckley were co-applicants for this grant. I believe in June, we got word that it was awarded I believe, might have been $10.8 million. Anyway, it was a federal grant from the RAISE grants that's paying the biggest portion of the cost, that and the State Road Fund, for this project. CTL provided professional services for the study, design, and preparation of contract plans for the upgraded WVU Tech Campus Corridor. Of course, y'all know where it's located. Project shall include a roundabout on West Virginia 210, and that's at Johnstown Road, along with appropriate improvements to side streets for a length of about 0.67 miles here in the city. The extension of Minnesota Avenue includes a retaining wall that will be built on the south end towards connecting into Beaver Street. Include change of traffic pattern. We'll have solar street lighting, luminescent striping, upgrading crosswalks, and many smart road technologies which will enhance the safety of West Virginia Tech students, faculty, and staff, as well as other pedestrians, bicyclists, and those with mobility needs. It's going to be a transformational project for West Virginia Tech and for the City of Beckley.
Will this take care of a lot of the telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk?
I hope so. I don't want to see that picture that got my mind thinking about the overhead lines. Last I heard, the power company is going to relocate those to the outside perimeter around the campus. Plans are pretty much complete, and everything goes well. Should see utility relocation start sometime in 2025, with actual construction of the streetscape the following year. President Stewart, the university needs to work to deepen our relationship with the City of Beckley and Raleigh County. We will do this by intentionally developing a communiversity that positions us to become Southern West Virginia's premier four-year university, while developing a robust community with a thriving economy like those witnessed in other small college towns. Now, I compare Beckley. Any of y'all been to Boone, North Carolina? Beckley and Boone, North Carolina are almost the exact same size. Okay? Boone's transformed itself to be an outdoor city, place for nature lovers, outdoor adventure enthusiasts. They have a college, Appalachian State University. We have a college. We just got a little bit of work to do to gain enthusiasm amongst the community, amongst the school, to move it forward. The school with an attractive campus appeals to students and parents alike. It also increases the value of the property and adjacent properties. This is an article, City of Beckley, IIJA federal funding. And U.S. Senators Joe Manchin and Sheila Moore Capito. It's $10.4 million raised grant to pay for this project. It was actually in June of this year. So we submitted in February. It was selected hundreds of applicants throughout the country. This was selected. And I give a lot of credit to our two U.S. senators for their work in helping push this for selection. Of course, our new senator, his hometown's Beckley, so hopefully he'll be of great help in going after this discretionary funding for any projects that the city may entertain. Talk a little bit about Harper Road corridor improvements. I was down here working on the South Canal Street, West Virginia Tech Campus Improvement Project. Drove Harper Road numerous times. It's a gateway into the city of Beckley. Got a lot of the issues that you had on Harper Road, lack of sidewalks, lack of places for, you can't ride a bicycle, people with disabilities, there's no handicap ramps, the sidewalks are intermittent. Traffic is horrible at times, particularly as you get up towards the interstate. And this being, I see it as the gateway to New River National Park. You got all your lodging out at Harper Road. You got a lot of your areas out there for dining, as well as here in downtown Beckley. We want to draw people into the downtown area also. But it's so congested at times, it's not very conducive for tourism. So I envision a complete streets type project. And I'll get into a little bit here in a few minutes on what complete streets, what it entails. But you also want to have something that your citizens can use. You want to enhance their lifestyles by providing safe sidewalks, crosswalks, biking lanes, lighting, green space, and enhanced aesthetics with the removal primarily of those ugly overhead utilities. The route provides accessibility to hospitals, healthcare, businesses, lodging, restaurants, as well as residential areas. I envision the project would begin just west of the Tamarack entrance to West Virginia 3 and proceed along West Virginia 3 Harper Road all the way to downtown Neville Street. Now I'll talk a little bit about our complete streets, and let me back up just for a second. Nothing whatsoever has been done on Harper Road other than what my remarks or my initial thoughts on that slide. So we will go through the same process as we did on the South Canal Street. If the city decides that they want to move forward with the project, we will get public input. And we revised the South Canal Street, got some very good public input. We made revisions to those plans, and I think the end product is going to be something that is the best that we could do with what we've got to work with. Okay, complete streets are designed and operated to enable safe use and support mobility for all users. That means teenagers up to us folks that have a little trouble walking now. Whether you're a driver, a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or if you're a public transportation rider. Complete streets provide more opportunities for more people to enjoy a healthier, active lifestyle. That includes walking or bicycling on a daily basis. Complete streets may also include green infrastructure design features that can have many positive environmental effects. And an example of that in Bluefield, we're looking at some dilapidated buildings that will be removed and green space will be placed, park-like areas where those dilapidated structures currently are located. Okay, one of the first things you do when you're looking at projects, you want to define and review the project corridor. You want to collect and analyze safety data within the corridor. We perform a safety audit. We interview stakeholders, business owners, hospital administrators, residential folks. We have public meetings. We identify areas of safety concerns and develop projects within the corridor. Draft list of improvements developed using information from your public meeting. Stakeholder interviews. We have a survey that we put out on the internet it's an online data collection tool. We review all the crash analysis that the city police department may have on file. We do road safety audit and field visits with our engineering staff. What are safety countermeasures? Street and roadway treatments that are shown to improve specific safety concerns. Each countermeasure has an expected safety benefit. Countermeasures can be combined for added safety. Some categories with proven countermeasures. You have vulnerable users, pedestrians and bicyclists. You have intersection improvements. And you got roadway and roadside improvements. Some pedestrian bicycle enhancements. Sidewalk installation or replacement. High visibility crosswalks. Here's a picture of a high visibility crosswalk. And street lighting. Bicycle facility enhancements. Bike lanes dedicated for cyclists. Enhanced pedestrian crossing, an example of what enhanced pedestrian crossings may look like. Some more examples of pedestrian crossings that could be used. Sidewalk improvements. Now you can tell the sidewalk on the left was not designed by a civil engineer. Now the ones on the right-hand side, a civil engineer probably designed those, but I guarantee you a landscape architect put the curvature in the sidewalk on the left. Our brains don't think that way. Wayfinding. Tech has got some nice flags along South Kanawha Street. The overhead utility lines distract you. You can't pay attention to really the crossings, the flags, and different things because you got just so much clutter on your view shed. Here's some examples of various wayfinding signs on a complete street project that you may use. Various types of lighting. I know we have worked with the city and they had, I think, $75,000 in grant money, and we're going to put the same type of lighting on the South Kanawha Street tech project as the city is going to do, I guess, downtown or wherever that project is at, so that the lighting is consistent. And it will be solar. Some examples of bike lanes. The one on the right's painted green. Woodrow Wilson's a maroon. Y'all could have your bike lanes in maroon going through Beckley for community pride and support for the Flying Eagles. Or golden blue for the Golden Bears. Road diet. What do you mean by road diet? We want to slow traffic down. We want drivers to be paying attention to the task at hand. We want to install, retime, or remove traffic signals. Currently, there's a project ongoing out here where the DOH is currently working on their signalization on Harper Road. You can install roundabouts. The area out by Tamarack may be an ideal location for a roundabout. As you're coming out of the Tamarack parking area onto Harper Road out there, could be idea for a roundabout. I was over in the Eastern Panhandle about a month ago. And they actually have two roundabouts right off of Interstate 81. As you get off the exit ramp, you enter a roundabout each side of the interstate. So possibly, the engineers would have to take a look at it. Possibly put roundabouts where you come off the ramps on exit 44. It's a possibility, something that could be looked at by the engineers. Roadway improvements, high visibility pavement markings. If you're like me, the older I have gotten, the harder it is for me to drive at night. And if it's a wet night, forget it. I usually will stay home rather than drive, because it is just so hard to see the lines, even on the interstate highways. Rumble strips. We started installing these in West Virginia along both the outside edge and the center line of the road, so that when drivers veer out of the travel way, it kind of shocks them to readjust their alignment and get back into the driving lane. And road diets, that's a combination of a lot of these different issues to slow people down and make the roadway safer. Roundabout intersection. Here's a couple of examples of roundabouts. They're being used more and more in West Virginia. When I was Secretary of Transportation, I think I had the first one constructed over in the Eastern Panhandle in Charlestown. There's one at Glenville now, the two I mentioned in Berkeley County off of I-81, but we've got several at Williamstown right off of 77. Several of them here in West Virginia now. Transit. I know you do have transit service. One of the things that you can do when you got a complete street is you manage your transit traffic. You have pull-off areas for your buses so that they can get out of the way, load up safely, unload safely, then get back out into the roadway. Bus shelters and bus signage would all be a part of items that you could include into a complete streets project. Streetscaping. Your downtown has a streetscaping that's been around for several decades probably. Other things you can do is access management, speed management, transit improvement, streetscaping, all that we have previously covered. Your next steps. Like I said earlier, I wish I'd been able to talk to you about 3 or 4 years ago, because we're 60% into this federal highway bill. So you got to have a sense of urgency if you're wanting to compete for this available federal money. You need to take action, and you need to do it quickly. First thing you need to do, or I recommend that you do, is advertise for consulting services. Your consulting services can include preliminary engineering, public outreach, writing grant applications, project design, bidding the project, construction administration, and construction inspection. I would recommend hiring one firm to do it all, cradle to grave, the thought to the finished product, cutting the ribbon. You request for qualification, rank, interview, and select a firm. West Virginia's got what's called the 5G process, where you have to advertise for consulting work, describe the type of services that you're looking to hire a consulting firm to complete. You rank, interview, and select a firm out of those that apply with their qualifications. You meet with city officials, whoever gets selected. And you find out what projects are of interest to you. All represent the city, your constituents. You all know in your various wards what's important. I think we had like a dozen projects in Bluefield. You hold public meetings. You listen, receive input from the citizens, develop maps, what we did in Bluefield, so that you can lay out on a map your various projects. You identify the improvements. I like to write a little general white paper about each project. Next step is, I'm a civil engineer, so I'm usually the one that puts the project budgets together so that we know how much to ask for when we're competing for these federal grants. I'll write the project narrative, develop the budget, And then we identify which pots of federal money. And I believe there's 475 different pots of federal money in the IIJA bill. Now, not all of them would fit any certain project, but a lot of projects are eligible for 1, 2, 3, or 4 different pots of this money. So you gotta, I like to tell people, you gotta cast your line and fish, because if you're not throwing your line out and fishing for these dollars, if you're not applying, you're not going to get selected. Then apply for funding as grant opportunities allow. And when you get a grant, I mean, I mentioned earlier, Safe Streets for All that we completed in Bluefield. We completed the action plan within 3 months, submitted the implementation grant end of February. They were awarded a total of $31 million, more than that. And that took care of a lot of their needs in the city of Bluefield. They were very fortunate and they're very happy to have been selected for that work. And Mayor, I believe I'm done. I may have went over by about 15 minutes.
Lucky
But
for you, I don't have a watch. So you're all right.
I blame,
I'm sure we'll have questions for you.
I blame 10 minutes for technical
There you go.
difficulties.
Not your fault, right?
Not my fault.
All right, this time, does anybody on council have any questions for Mr. Maddox about the presentation?
It's a lot to digest.
It is a lot. Hey, let me ask you first off, is this those grants? I didn't see it up there, but is it just for existing improvements to existing roadways? Is there grants out there for new roads that would help some of our?
There's grants out there for about everything. You just got to identify your project and figure out which grant best fits the funding
For, like-
needs for that project.
But that's included the 475 that you say you have like a pot to pull from?
Yeah, there's various pools of grant funds. And one of the advantages of, I've got a great relationship with AECOM. They're a big international firm. When they were putting the infrastructure bill together, AECOM wrote a lot of the language for the bill. Okay, so they got an inside track as to, I call them, say, the city of Beckley has this project, and here's the project, here's the kind of money that we're looking for.
Right.
They've got computer software that you give them the demographics, tell them about the project, tell them about the cost of the project, and it will tell you which funds you ought to seek and apply for grant funds for.
So this bill runs out September 30th, 26.
Yes, sir.
Do you think the money will run out before then?
Got a new
If it's first come
administration
first?
with elections, there are consequences. They may claw a lot of that money back, and
Right.
Bluefield may not see it.
Let me ask you another question. So, was it just by example you picked Harper Road? I mean, I'm sure a lot of us, would love to pull the people that stay from out of town to stay at the hotels off the Harper Road exit and be able to draw them into uptown Beckley. But was that just
I'm an out of
example?
towner. I'm from Nitro. Grew up in
Right.
Nitro. I'm living in Nitro, but I always get off Harper Road and come that way into the city of Bluefield, and I see that as the gateway. Now, y'all may have totally different projects,
Right.
and that's what we would do. We would listen to the council, we'd listen to the public, and we would come to some agreement, consensus as to which projects we will apply for what monies.
Right. I just didn't know if you just came up with that, or if somebody else in the community thought the Harper Road with the power poles.
It
and
just
the
reminded me
bike
so
lanes.
much of South Canal, and just cleaning it up and putting
Right.
some green space in and making it more, people with mobility needs. You got the hospital out there, a lot of foot traffic.
Right.
Just seemed like it'd be a good project that would check a lot of the boxes when they're selecting projects to put federal money into, that it would compete fairly well.
And if you did Harper Road, it would segue into what WU Tech's doing,
Yes,
from West Neville all the way down to downtown.
correct, yeah. The whole idea would be to connect it
Yeah,
all,
the connector.
yeah.
So I
Jeremiah,
did hear you say that,
You
tell
know-
them that they will build a road, also involved in that. Because one thing that I was on council for 9 years previous for this, is I like to see them to build a road right there that it's no longer called the Summit Bank, it's called something else. Because this is already a road right there, which goes down to New River Drive, will eliminate that long parking lot that we have coming from Raleigh General Hospital up to there.
Well,
I was thinking the exact same thing. When you were talking like bike lanes from Tamarack
Yeah.
up Harper Road,
yeah, I'll
could
give
you
you an
imagine
example.
that?
The Reconnecting Bluefield grant that we've got.
Right.
We have a neighborhood, it's called the North neighborhood. It's on the north side of the railroad tracks. A lot of people need a lot of help living in that neighborhood. So one of the things that we're doing in the Reconnecting Bluefield plan is we're going to look at what we can do to improve their street network, which may include making a new roadway through the neighborhood, getting rid of some of the really dilapidated properties and putting green space in. But right now, it's just it's on a steep hillside, a lot of bends and turns, and it's just not very drivable. So we're going to take a hard look at what can we do to improve those people's access.
Right, but that's a great point, because that's exactly where I was thinking, is right there at Harper Road
Yeah, you got
to
something-
Pikeview. If there was some way you could cut behind,
If you go back, well, the road's already there at Summit Bank. Only thing you have to just continue on down the hill, or go over the hill.
Yeah.
Another road too, Hilton Lane does the same.
That's correct. But
And you
know-
may even look like what we did at South Canal, where you just convert one way and then you convert another street like Minnesota to one way, the different direction. Maybe do something like that. But that's something the engineers
Right, right.
would get
but
into.
you think it
and
was something
they
that would fall under, that could possibly
Oh,
qualify
yeah,
for
yeah,
this?
yes.
Because that would ease a lot
Yes.
of traffic.
I've got a question
Sure,
from
go ahead.
Mr. Jeremiah. I guess he knows. I'm looking at him. For the Hartley, Hunter, and Hager Street project, do we need any more funding for that project that maybe we could apply for? Do you know right off?
We've only got design and planning funding at this point,
Mm-hmm.
so funding will be needed for construction.
Okay. Can you explain to him what that project is about?
Yeah, Mr. Maddox, it's a stormwater and sanitary sewer replacement project in Councilwoman Floyd Ward for like some of the problems you saw elsewhere. 50-plus years of not being able to figure it out.
The problem with the United States is we just have not put money back into our infrastructure, and it's showing badly now after decades of neglect. Some of the stormwater in Bluefield, for example, is over 100 years old. We're trying currently to help them find grant money to alleviate some of their stormwater issues also.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how much more do you think we're looking at, Jeremiah?
Last engineer's estimate is about $6.5 million difference.
Okay.
City of Bluefield's project's about $20 million that we're
Okay.
trying to help with.
Okay. So we're a little lower. Okay.
So you said, Mr. Maddox, there's 475, around 475 different ways to apply for, or different types of roadways?
Different types of grant funding.
Grant
It could be
funding, okay.
For roadways, it could be for multimodal facilities, it could be for stormwater, it could be for water, it could be for sewer, just various types of
Okay.
infrastructure.
Excellent. Question for you. On the matching funds on all the grants and different things like that, what are we looking at? Because that's what
Generally,
a big
it's-
priority
it-
for the city is our
Generally, it's
matching.
20%, but in Bluefield, we've been able to get the state Department of Transportation to match 20%.
Oh.
Because a lot of the projects that they selected are on federal aid system roads throughout the city that the city may maintain them, but they're classified as FAR, Federal Access Roads. Okay? So they came and they're paying the 20% local match for the city of Bluefield. And one of the things that you also have going to it for you, as did Bluefield, is the toll road here generates what's called toll credits. And those toll credits can be used instead of the state spending 10 million of state roadway dollars, they can use 10 million of the federal highway road fund dollars and take it from the toll credit bank.
Oh, okay.
So there are ways to help communities from not having to pay the 20% match.
Paul, why don't you explain the MPOs to the new council?
The MPO that represents Raleigh and Fayette, it's based upon, I think it's 50,000, maybe the threshold. for the general area, density of population. And after the 2010 census, Beckley and or Raleigh County and Fayette County met that threshold. So they formed the Fayette-Raleigh MPO, and that was formed while I was secretary. And I think it's one of 7 MPOs in the entire state of West Virginia. And those MPOs, whatever, I mean, they'll be a great partner for you to work with the MPO, the city, work with West Virginia Tech, work with the county commission, work with the West Virginia DOT to get that support. So you got all those heavy hitters plus your U.S. senators, get letters of recommendation. And we've been through this process several times, helping Bluefield and some other cities. So we know what it takes to put together a good competitive grant application.
Yeah, and you've mentioned Bluefield a couple times. Is there any other towns or cities in West Virginia that's?
Not many. City of Charleston has got $30 million, I believe, for what they're calling the Capital Connector, which is basically taking Canal Boulevard from Greenbrier Street around the Capitol all the way down to, I think, maybe the Patrick Street Bridge, converting part of it to one-way traffic, put it in green space, put it in bike lanes, pedestrian facilities. They have been selected. City of Wheeling, they got downtown streetscape. I think they were awarded probably $35 or $40 million for that project. So there's other communities that have taken advantage of this federal bill. But there's so many more. If we would just apply, you'd have a shot of getting selected. But if you don't apply, you have no chance.
Anyone else have any questions?
So what would be our next step if we would decide to go forward? I mean, we'd have to bring it to a vote or talk about it, and then what's your suggestion, Mr. Maddox?
You have a couple of different organizations that assist cities in the procurement of engineering companies. I would talk to those folks, create an advertisement. I can give you example advertisements that other cities have utilized, and basically run an ad, receive the qualifications from firms interested in providing those services to you. You form a committee that goes through the proposals, they rank them. Generally, they'll shortlist the top 3 companies to come in and give a presentation. You score those presentations, and then high score is who you will generally select and negotiate an agreement with.
Anything else? Well, you might want to stick around. I'm sure other people out here might have some questions for you afterwards.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for being here. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, council.